Well, spring is finally in the air.
And I've got a bit of spring in my step. I do. Because we have another great lineup of guests on Artifacts this month.
Something for everyone.
But don't take our word for it.
In fact, kick back, relax, and stay with us for the April edition of Artifacts next.
We'll be back.
Hello, everyone. This is Janet Zahn of the Office of Film, Video, and Recording.
And this is Phill Lindsay with the Minneapolis Community Development Agency.
And neither of us has met Arnold Schwarzenegger. However, he is coming to town to film Jingle All the Way starting this month.
And there's another feature film set to start shooting here in April. It's called Overnight Delivery.
Also in April, the Gathering of Heartbeats Drum Feast at Powderhorn Park. I'll be talking with Sharon and Germaine Tremmel of the Red Drum Woman Society Singers, who will tell us all about that exciting event. And then I'll sit down with Carolyn Holbrook, director of SASE, and writers Julie Landsman and A.P. Porter. We will talk about all things literary. Should be fun.
And I'm looking forward to my conversation with Wendell John Anderson as well. He's the second Blockbuster McKnight Film Fund Award recipient we've met on Artifacts, and it'll be interesting to see how his blockbuster year is going.
Then I'll be back with Sandy Hay of the Hay City Theater, followed by what will surely be an intriguing conversation with Hector Garcia. He's the publisher of Colors, a magazine that features opinion in the arts in communities of color.
So let the gab begin. Sharon and Germaine Tremmel will be here right after this art quote.
And we're back. And I'm pleased to have, in fact, very honored to have three women who are with the Red Drum Woman Society Singers, and they're going to talk a little bit about that organization, their music and singing, and an upcoming event early this month. But first, let me introduce Sharon, who is with the group. We have Audrey Bomberry, who's with the group, and we have Germaine Tremmel. Thank you all for being here. It's a pleasure to have you on the show. For those who don't know, and I must admit, this is a new group, a new organization to me, can you tell me a little bit about your organization, what it is you do, and how long you've been around?
Basically, we've been around for about going on 5 years now, and the group formed based on the fact that a lot of the women had dreams in a Native American community. Dreams are very important part of our life, and so when these women had dreams, it was very important to make that dream a reality. You know, what is it doing, telling you? So when this happened, this kind of took Sharon, the Red Drum Woman is her Indian name, and so in the dream it was told that this would all be part of that, and so it all fell in place kind of automatically, and so the women have just came to the drum based on their own dreams and their own experiences, and it's been really an honor because we have a total of almost 35 members of this organization.
That's a large entourage you have. That's
and
great.
They range from the ages of 2 years old to the ages of 47.
Wow, so it's multi-generational.
Yes.
You have grandmothers
Yes.
and granddaughters there. That's
Yeah,
great.
and we've really had fun with this group because it's about the teachings of honor and respect, and what the women are doing is they're taking those teachings that they learn at the drum and about themselves, and then taking it out to their families and into the communities. And we really work closely with a lot of young mothers, the youth in the community of all areas. It isn't just Native American groups either that we service. We've been doing a lot of presentations, school functions, organization functions, and we talk about a lot of our healing and a lot of our spirituality, and we're just really networking. You know.
Well, I noticed in something you sent me that the women that drum and sing come from many nations themselves. So this is a sort of a multinational organization.
Yes.
Now you're one of the singers, one of the lead singers,
Yes,
right?
yes.
Okay, and you are one of the drum keepers, or is there only one drum keeper?
Just one.
Okay, and what does that mean for you? What are your responsibilities?
Well, one of the things that this is what I've done is I have to listen to my visions and my dreams, and this whole drum is a vision. The pattern, the teardrops, or the flames, if you want to call them, the drumsticks we've made are all visions. And it's kind of like told to me how to make these, you know,
Okay.
what color to put on them, or what color, you know. And we take care of this drum because there's a spirit inside, you know, and it comes from the universe. So we feed our drum, you know, set out you know, the dish and stuff for the food. We offer it, you know.
I noticed before we sat down, actually, as we were sitting down, you did make an offering, all of you, to participate with this.
Yeah.
And Audrey, you're another of the lead singers.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm one of the newer members. I joined in September, and I had been singing with the group for maybe a month before I realized that dreams that I'd had as much as 3 years prior were leading me to be coming to this drum. And I thought it was a surprise for me to be singing at it in the beginning, but then after I had been with the group, I realized that this is what I was supposed to be doing, and I was fulfilling
So
those dreams.
Actually, sitting kind of brought back memories or heightened the memories of dreams you'd already had.
Right.
Yeah. I tend to make a distinction in my own life between my dream reality and my waking reality, and there's kind of a nice transition sometimes when they harmonize, when I'm waking up and waking into those. I don't often, though, as you three have done, sort of make them real, you know, take them out into my waking reality and do something with them.
And that's one of the things that's real unique about this, because we've lost so much of that type of teaching within our culture. A lot of our elders have been silent for so long now, and there's a lot of stuff that's been happening. And so we're, in our community, we're healing, you know, and this is one of the reasons why we're having this event is at Powderhorn, is because that's a very sacred area to the Dakota. I'm Lakota, and I speak the L dialect, and Sharon is Anishinaabe Dakota, and Audrey is Mohawk, Six Nations. And so we have a variety of nations here, but the songs that they sing, they each bring a song to the drum. And so we sing, and what that does is that the drum is our heartbeat. And when we connect with that heartbeat, it's when we feel ourselves whole and connected with the Creator, you know. And if that dies, then our people will die. See, and that's the philosophy and behind that. And so we really, the women have learned a lot of the respect, you know, how they interpret the drum stand and how it has been done by Sharon. And some people see flames, some people see teardrops, but it's just really the emotional, because there's the physical part, there's the emotional, there's the intellectual, and there's the spiritual aspect. And that's what all people that have, you know, come to the drum to be healed or to work on some issues or to help guide them, you know, have done. And it's been really a powerful, wonderful experience for all of us, because we've been able to share our personal stories, our personal triumphs, our personal obstacles, experiences with many people out there. We've served, you know, spoke with many thousands of people, and young people are drawn to this drum.
Yeah,
So
I know
we
when I
have
go to a gathering or a powwow, I mean, there's a draw there just as it's getting set up.
Yes.
Well, you were all kind enough to not only bring the drum, but offer to do a song. And why don't we go into that now, and then we'll come back and talk a little bit about this.
This song is called All the Warriors that could have created change.
Wana upe
I'm definitely getting flames. The power of it was very strong, and that's how I took it. Thank you very much. It's wonderful.
Yeah, it's been an honor to be able to do the work that has been happening around the drum and with the women. Not only that, it's you see it in the community. You see, and that's one of the really the joys I think the women have received out of this is there's been a lot of change. A lot of people really looking at something. There's something out there, and there's more to it than just right here. You know?
I have to ask this question because at most of the gatherings I've gone to, it's men that sit.
Yes.
Is this a new tradition, or are you flying in the face of a tradition, the fact that this is women? And what have I touched on with that question, anyhow?
We knew this question was coming.
Yeah.
Well, there's been a lot of, there's a lot of pros and cons too, as far as women drummers. And no, it's not common. But in our endeavors these last 5 years that we've been traveling and doing this work, we've run into a lot of drummers, women drummers. And wherever we go, though, we have been really, and this is something that's really powerful, is that we have been really received by the men, which is really amazing because there is a lot of controversy around women drummers. And it isn't common, but there's the other aspect of it too, is that when people look at their family, there was a drummer or there was a keeper of a drummer in a family, and that was a place of honor and reverence. And that was a high esteemed, status to maintain, and so those were never talked about or expressed. Well, now we're coming into a lot of the changes in the world and the changes with our people, and so now it's like this is just now emerging. It's just now coming out, and so this is new. And it with change, you always have some difficulties with being out there and being able to do the work that you need to do, but. I'm just really proud of the reception that we've been getting. It's been great. Okay. And we have a young boy that sits at our drum, and we have a lot of, our male supporters that are really behind us out there, as will happen at the feast, at the drum feast, and this is what we're having in April. And
I'm glad you brought that up, because before we go, we've just got another moment. There's early this month in April at Powderhorn Park. Give me the details.
April 5th, 6th, and 7th is the drum feast, and what we will be doing is at Powderhorn Park, and it'll be a regular powwow, but it's a gathering. And what it is an exchange of teachings, it's exchange of relationship, creating new relationship, and then we're bringing in our youth and our elders into our community. And so it'll be 5th, 6th, and 7th at Powderhorn Community Center. Okay,
that's South Minneapolis, and I know there's a phone number people can call if they want to get in touch with your Society of Singers.
Yes, it's 729-9434, and we also will be open to going out and performing.
As I understand it, you're available for bookings.
Yes.
That's great. Well, one and all, thank you very much for being here. It was a pleasure to have you come and sing. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Well, we'll be back in just a moment, but first, the Twin Cities ITVA, the Organization for Accomplished Visual Communicators, held its 11th annual video festival in Minneapolis last month, and we've got a clip from one of the winning videos. It's a motivational piece called A World of Opportunity. It was created for Lutheran Brotherhood, written and directed by Tom Williams of CME Video and Film. ITVA's April meeting will feature more of the winning videos from the festival, along with a discussion about why videos that win, win. So watch and enjoy, and then stay tuned for my next interview with Carolyn Holbrook, Julie Landsman, and A.P. Porter.
The economies of many nations around the world are growing rapidly. Political and economic barriers are coming down, and obviously digital technology is making the world more interconnected, creating a truly global market.
In 1970, fully 2/3 of the world's stock market was in the United States. By the end of 1994, that number had shifted.
Well, and that was a look at another one of those very good video clips from the very healthy industry we have here in the Twin Cities. Well, my next guests are all from a relatively new organization called SASE, and they're going to talk about that and what they're doing with it. Anthony Paton Porter is a writer and the president of the organization. Do I have that right?
That's right.
And Maury Landsman, you are on the board.
That's right.
of SASE. And Carolyn Holbrook, it's nice to see you. You are the director of this
I am.
organization.
I am. Nice to see you again, Phill.
Yes, you as well, very much so. SASE, the first time I think you told me that, I went into my literary mode and assumed that was short for send a self-addressed stamped envelope or something. Do you actually parse that out at all, or is the name of the organization actually SASE?
The real name is SASE, the right place, WRITE. And we call ourselves SASE for short. We're doing a new take on the whole self-addressed stamped envelope thing.
Good for you, good for you. And it is, now tell me if I'm right here, it is a literary organization, or would you call it a writer's organization?
But why is there a difference?
Well, because I once was corrected by an author who said, you know, the difference between an author and a writer is who's been published. And so I wasn't sure that a literary organization, of whom we've had guests on, are interested in things literary, but they don't write, they don't put pen to paper or finger to computer.
I see.
So I'm not trying to split hairs here. I just wondered if you made the distinction.
No.
Fair enough.
Not at all.
Thank you, Anthony. I needed that.
That's okay.
That's good. But at least two of you are writers. Do you get into this as well, Mr. Board Member?
No, my wife's a writer. My son's a writer and actor. So I
okay.
live my arts life
So
vicariously.
you've been surrounded by,
yes.
by writers,
Yes.
sure. Oh,
Yeah.
great. Well, let's talk about SASE. What is it you do for writers?
Well,
Sometimes we commiserate with them.
yes.
Yeah.
You know, we offer classes and workshops and help.
So support
We
organization.
provide support.
Right. Right. And we try to take writing to people who don't think of writing in a serious way. You know, don't think about writing as a career or as a,
Okay.
you know, it's just not part of their world. So we do a lot of stuff with kids and
Oh, good for you. I didn't realize that. Okay.
mostly high school, but you know, we're not averse to younger children.
So this is real grassroots kind of stuff you're doing.
Right, but we also do work with writers who are serious about their writing. I think we try to make it very accessible, though, by having our programs out in the community rather than in one location that people have to come to.
So you're decentralized in that sense. You
Yeah,
get
I
out
think-
where the people are that want
Yeah.
these
I think
resources.
we're trying to expand both the audience and the community of writers. I mean, both sides of that would describe what we do, I think.
Are there certain genres that you tend to find come to you? I mean, I'm thinking, you know, there's mystery writers, and there's romance writers, and there's science fiction writers, and there's sort of the serious literary writer, the great American novel kind of writer. Who comes to you for these resources that you have?
That's an interesting question. You know, we've been around for 2 years now, and we're just basically starting to be known out there in the community. And so I would say, I don't know, I would say that we're open to, you know, all, if not, most, if not all kinds of writers.
Okay. So if somebody's got the writing need and they need to learn more, what kind of workshops do you do? What kind of things that you take out there in the community and put in front of somebody? I mean, real fundamental things on plot and structure and stuff like that, or?
Yeah, and poetry and how to use your computer to become a more professional writer. There's, what else? We offer lots of things. We just had a workshop on working with editors, and we had another on working with a literary agent. So what else?
Gee, I don't know, what are some of the ones that Julie did?
She did one on holidays, writing about the holidays.
Oh, that sounds like
Which is
fun.
kind of an
Now,
interesting
this is
thing.
Julie Landsman,
Right.
your wife, who's also
Correct.
a writer and
She's a writer.
teacher and all that. Well, I commend you for your effort with young people, especially because, as we were just talking about in the previous segment, often it's the young people that need that inspiration, a little bit of care and feeding there.
Another thing we've been doing is bringing writers into the Twin Cities to try to expand our audiences. Last year, Bob Holman from the New Eurekan Poets and Dana Bryant.
Oh, yeah.
And this year we're bringing in Cayenne.
Which is a multicultural, intergenerational group of women poets. They'll be here in May. Yeah, in May.
What kind of venues do you put these people in?
Well, now that's another interesting question. Bob and Dana performed at the front room at Ground Zero.
Okay,
which
that's
is
down by the riverfront, more or less, in
right,
Minneapolis.
yeah, which is basically a bar and dance place. Cayenne will be performing at the Southern Theater, but they'll be doing workshops at Patrick's Cabaret
Okay.
and such places.
Okay, so you very seriously get out there in the community.
Very
How do
serious
people
about that.
respond to this? You're in a bar, you're down at Ground Zero, you have these.
We had to turn people away
Really?
at Ground Zero when Bob and Dana, and we bring them in to mentor local writers as well. So we had a combined reading performance with
Right.
local writers whom they mentored.
And we use a different process for finding the writers that they'll work with as proteges. Instead of doing an open call, we have a process where we ask writers, teachers, arts administrators, et cetera, to nominate poets. And so then we send those nominations to the people who are coming in as mentors, and they select their group from the nominations. Be careful, you might get a call next year to ask you to be a nominator.
If I can help, I'd be glad to. Well, even that process then sounds like it's very one-on-one. That sounds really good. In other words, not just an open sort of cattle call, and you got to kind of shunt them in the right way.
Right, and you know, to answer your question about how people are responding, we did a survey about a year ago. We sent it to 4,000 people, and one of the questions was, what would be your ideal writing program, and where would it be? And we got a large number of responses from people who said that they would like for their programs to be in coffee shops and community centers, you know, rather than in a more traditional venue.
Now, you know me long enough to know when I was a street performer out there, it is my bias that you take your art to the people
That's
wherever
right.
they are. You take the art, or it may even be their art. So I very much validate that approach of yours. Have you had any major surprises? You get a writer, a poet, or somebody out in front of saying something that you never expected to happen happened?
Oh.
I mean, are there hecklers out there in some of these places? Or?
Oh, the hecklers, love the hecklers.
You work with them?
Yeah, I mean, if you're out in the community, you got to expect things to be different than they would be if you're at, you know,
Performing at the Walker.
yeah.
Yeah, in a more kind of conventional,
yes,
constrained
exactly.
atmosphere. Or something like that.
Yeah, I'd say one of the biggest.
Anthony's not saying anything. I think he may have encountered a few of these.
One of the biggest, most wonderful surprises that we've had, you were talking about the kids. We started a program at Henry High School over in North Minneapolis, and we worked with the administrators over there to develop a program that would make sense to them and their community, rather than ours, you know, developing a program and then taking it to them and saying, would you like to have this? What they came up with, or rather what we came up with together, was a large program that we're still developing. But we started out with a more manageable part of it, which is, okay, they have a Saturday school, and it's a disciplinary program for kids who are trying to avoid suspension. They're, you know, if you come this Saturday, you won't get suspended.
Okay, so this is like a last step before...
Before out of
Okay.
there. And so what we decided was to run a series of writing classes during Saturday school. Saturday school is from 8 to noon, and the program is from 9 to 11, so it's like right in the middle of the Saturday school program. And we leave it open for the kids in the disciplinary program, the so-called regular kids, parents, and community members. And it's working. It's amazing. And some of the
No, ignore the man behind the curtain.
Okay. Yeah. It's just
So
an
they've really taken to this.
They really have. Some of the kids who, you know, they come in there posturing, well, I don't have anything else to do, so I might as well come to this writing class. Besides, they serve breakfast. We call it the Breakfast Club.
All right.
And so, you know, we serve the kids and the people whoever comes. They get donuts, coffee, juice, and a writing class.
Yeah, one of the neatest things about that to me is that we've also kind of been able to work with parents and community members
They are
who
coming.
might want, parents and community members coming, doing the writing, and some of them might wind up doing administration of the
Parents
program
and
at some time
participants.
in the future, or,
Yeah.
or folks
Very
from the community,
impressive.
or at least working with the teachers that we've sent.
Well, this
Yeah.
sounds like it's so popular that some kids actually might be getting into trouble in school in order to get into it.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Well, instead of getting in trouble to come back, they just come back on their own.
And they're free
We've
to
had
do
a
that.
few-
You don't
yeah, they
have
are
to
free to do that.
necessarily.
Yeah.
Wow, that sounds like a real success. Congratulations. That's up at North.
No, Henry,
Paton
Henry, I'm sorry.
which is out in the Camden neighborhood, but
Okay. Far north up there.
far north.
Okay.
But a lot of the kids who go to Henry live on the near north side.
Okay. Good for you. That's a great program. Anthony, I know you as a writer. I wanted to ask each of you how you got involved in this. What career tracked you into all of this?
Oh, gee. Carolyn recruited me. This was almost 3 years ago now, when we had the first exploratory brainstorming sessions. That was September 9th, 1993.
But who's counting, right?
Must have been, yeah.
Good for you.
Yeah, and I was working at Colors magazine, and that's how I met Carolyn originally.
He was my editor.
Ooh,
was
nice
what?
relationship there.
I was your editor, that's right. Yeah, don't you forget it.
For those who don't know, he was actually editing our character generation that we're putting up on the screen for folks. So he's got the eye for it. Good guy to have on
It's
there.
an addiction.
Yeah.
Fairly harmless, anyway. And I've been going to meetings ever since.
Yeah, isn't it the way? Yeah.
Right, it's just, a lot of hard work and talk and paper. And
The glamour behind the arts organization.
that's.
Folks, we've got just a few moments left, and I want to make sure that if people want to get in touch with SASE, that there's SASE, thank you. There is both a post office box and I guess a phone number. Could one of you rattle that off?
SASE is at box 8374, Minneapolis 55408.
Great.
The phone number is 649-4977.
And I would like to add that since we do our work in the community, we don't really have an office, and so that number is a voicemail. I'm sorry to say, but we do return calls. I will return it, or Anthony, or Maury, but usually
Somebody
it'll
will.
be Tracy, our administrative associate.
So call that number or drop a line if you wanted to, and SASE will get back to you.
Right, 649-4977.
All right. Well, thank you one and all for being on here and introducing at least me a little bit more to SASE. It was a pleasure.
Thanks for
having
inviting us.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
Well, we'll be back in a moment, and we'll hear from one of the Minnesota Blockbuster McKnight Film Fund Award winners. His name is Wendell John Anderson, right after this clip from his film, The Virtual.
Why are you obsessed with this?
You don't understand what it's like to feel something's missing. To feel like somewhere there's an answer. Ever since I began this project, I've been told to move on, do something else. But there's something here, in my memories, and I don't know what it is yet. But I built this thing to find out. And I have to keep trying. I have to keep going until I understand. It's important to me.
I'll monitor your bio readings myself. But if damage is imminent, I'm pulling the plug.
Initialize scanner and power up the SRK unit. Thanks, Max.
Image program loading.
Stand by.
Elizabeth, I hope you find your answer.
Welcome back, everybody. You just saw a scene from The Virtual, which was written and directed by my guest who is here today with me, Wendell John Anderson. Welcome.
Thank you.
I think the audience deserves a little bit of an explanation, a little bit more than they got before they saw that scene. Can you tell us a little bit about what The Virtual is about?
Sure. Well, The Virtual is my senior film at MCAD, Minneapolis College of Art and Design. And the film is, it's a science fiction story about a woman who creates a machine that can recreate her memories via virtual reality. And so she goes farther and farther back in her own memories, and as she goes farther back, the memories become sketchier and sketchier, and she discovers the birth mother that she never knew, back locked away in her past, and she finds this woman and talks to her and finds out that she loved her.
It really, I really have to tell you, I enjoyed watching this film of yours a lot. I thought it was such a good story, and I really appreciate a good story in a film, which I think leads us to talking about a little bit about the fact that you won the Blockbuster Film Fund Award this year, one of 4 people out of 70 who went through the rigorous application process. And I think part of what part of the reason that you won in our discussions prior to this has to do with the fact that, again, you've got a really good story that you want to tell, one that's kind of unusual. Tell us about your script and what it's about.
Well, sure. The script is called With or Without You, and it's based on a personal experience. I'm a birth parent. My wife and I placed a baby for adoption several years ago, and the story is loosely based on that event. It's about two young people who have a baby and they place it for adoption, and it's about love and how these two people come to love each other during the course of this event.
A good story. Now, one of the interesting things that's happened since you received the Blockbuster Award is that you received another wonderful sort of gift that came your way, and that was you got to go to Sundance.
Right.
What was that all about? What did you get to do?
Well, what happened there, when I was up for Blockbuster, one of the judges for Blockbuster liked my script enough that he took it back to LA with him and presented it to the people at Sundance. And the people at Sundance liked it and invited me to come to the Sundance Screenwriters Workshop, which is really prestigious. Out of 1,000 applicants, only 12 get to go.
And this was all unbeknownst to you. You didn't know.
I didn't know this. He did this on his own, and then after the fact, called me up and said, "Oh, by the way, you're in Sundance." And I was like, "Oh, well, good."
This is great.
Yeah, I'll take it. Sure. And it was great. We went up for 5 days into the mountains in Utah. It was really beautiful, and I met with these great screenwriters, Callie Curry, who wrote Thelma and Louise, Christopher McQuarrie, who wrote The Usual Suspects. I mean, the best screenwriters working.
Who just won the Academy Award.
He just won, Christopher McQuarrie just won the other night. And great people, and we worked on my script, and they read it through, and they came prepared with notes, and they told me what they liked about it, what they didn't like about it, and how to make it better, and how to make it more uniquely my own, to really find my voice as a writer. And
give me some specific examples of what some of the screenwriters told you to do with your script.
The most important thing that they told me was that since the story is so personal to me and based on a real experience, at various points in drafts that I have done before, that I kind of distanced myself from the story, and I tried to make it not about me so much. And surprisingly, they told me they wanted me to get closer to the story. They wanted to make it more uniquely my own, because the nature of the story is that, or real life, men don't tend to stay with their pregnant girlfriends when they get pregnant. And I did, and they said, "That's interesting, that's unique. We want to see that story. We've seen stories about women doing it alone. We want to see a story about the guy who stays around." And so that was kind of, it was shifting the focus of the story off of the woman and onto the man more, which I hadn't thought of before.
Which I guess I agree with them, thinking that is an angle that we haven't looked at. Even just the story is not one we've heard often, but certainly taking that perspective.
Well, it's amazing that Hollywood, in dealing with this issue, has actually dealt with it negatively. If you look at films like The Ties That Bind, birth parents are evil, they're villains, and I just can't understand that. It's one of the hardest, most beautiful things you can do, to give up a child.
So congratulations for bearing your soul and telling a good story and kind of working through some of this stuff, and hopefully we'll get to see this as a film. What are your plans? When do we?
Hopefully we'll make it this fall, and there's a lot of interest in it now, so it hopefully will be coming to a theater near you.
And you're also waiting to hear on one other thing too.
Also with getting into Sundance, into the next round of Sundance workshops, which is the directing workshop, which Quentin Tarantino and Ed Burns and a few other people have gone through. It's even more prestigious, and I'm waiting to hear whether I got into that.
Well, it's very exciting, and I'm glad you're having these opportunities as a Minnesota filmmaker to come back and make this movie here, and it seems like the Blockbuster Film Fund is doing what it's supposed to do.
It has been everything to me. I would never have gotten anything that I've gotten without it.
Well, a good testimonial. Good luck to you. It was wonderful to meet you, and I hope things go well. And we will keep our viewers updated as the year progresses. So be sure to call me and let me know how things are going. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Well, Phill will be back with Sandy Hay from the Hay City Theater right after this fascinating feature film fact.
Well, folks, you know there's a wedding going on downtown. Why don't you take a quick look at this? Well, that's a pretty fun image from Tony and Tina's wedding, which is going on down at Hay City Theater, downtown Minneapolis. And with me is Sandy Hay.
Yes, hi.
Nice to have you
Phill,
here.
how are you?
Yeah. And you kind of get the title role of Hay City Theater. You are the proprietor of this outfit that has recently moved from the West Bank to new digs on Hennepin Avenue. How is that?
We're
How's it going for you?
downtown. We love it. It's fabulous. We have all kinds of great energy between the state and the Orpheum. And people are watching us from Palomino and Rock Bottom, and it's a great, very energized feel at that end of Hennepin, and people are rediscovering coming downtown and having a good time.
It's wonderful. As I drive by and I see all the people going into your 3 venues down there, those 3 different theaters, and you've done some fun stuff with the building as well, on the outside as well. It's certainly an invitation on the outside.
Right.
And then on the inside, you did some interesting things with sort of developing the space for this particular show.
Right. It's a very unusual concept because we needed a church and a reception hall. So the second floor is a chapel, Vinnie Black's Chapel of Angelic Inspiration. And on the first floor is Vinnie Black's Coliseum. So Vinnie Black is the character who owns the establishment, and that's all part of the way this show is set up, because it isn't like a normal play. It's a very environmental experience. So people walk in, and they're pretty much accosted by the Black family who runs the place, who say, instead of give me your tickets, they say invitations, invitations, come on, hurry up, let's go. And people are astounded that it's not a regular experience, and they then find out their seating assignment, go up to the chapel to witness Tony and Tina getting married with the mother of the bride and the father of the groom and his girlfriend and Uncle Louie from New Jersey and this whole wacky family.
Sandy, are they seated by the groom and the bride's side of the...
Yes, the groomsmen will say, are you a Nunzio or Vitali? And people will say, well, gosh, I don't know, I'm a Soderbergh, from... somewhere in the suburbs, and they'll say, oh, you're a Nunzio, I can tell because you're dressed a little better than, the other side, and they seat you according to, so you just are immersed in it right away. And people really go with it. They seem very excited about playing along, and after the wedding is over, they then go downstairs to the Vinnie Black's Coliseum, which is done, it's Vinnie's idea of a really great Vegas spot, which looks something more like a VFW hall all dressed up.
Okay, I'm getting kind of lower class loungy kind of vibes.
Well,
on this,
it's I wouldn't say lower class. It's very a blue collar.
Okay.
A blue collar sort of entertainment venue that's dressed up to look like Caesar's Palace.
Oh, I see. Okay, yeah. So the show's the thing here.
Sure.
Now, you earlier this spring, you extended the run.
Yes.
You opened the show last fall and opened your space. Yeah. And you've had some great success.
Yes, we have. We're selling tickets about 8 weeks out.
Wow.
And people are just absolutely loving it. Bridal parties are coming. Before the fact and after the fact, because we like to say nothing can happen at your wedding that could be as bad as what happens at our wedding, which is sort of unraveling of the whole thing.
So this is like an inoculation. Come to the show at Hay City Theater and nothing this bad will ever happen to you.
Exactly. You can't possibly have all of these things go wrong at one night. Or people, after they've gone through a ceremony and a wedding in their family, will come to ours and really laugh at some of the same things that did happen, like the flowers don't get delivered, and you have the old boyfriend showing up uninvited, and things like that. This happens.
Sandy, we've only got a moment or two left, but what's it meant to you to be down on Hennepin Avenue? What's that?
Oh, I think it's really, we feel like we're playing with the big boys now. We're right between the 2 fabulous theaters that bring in the Broadway touring shows, and we feel very connected with the Hennepin Theater District, and we have the other night when Grease was in town, some of the cast members from Grease came over and saw our show, and we had a benefit on a Monday night, and they, Debbie Gibson was there, having fun at our show. And I want to say the word legitimizes our little theater, and we really feel we're holding our own in some very, very excellent company. And
I should say so with the extended run and all.
Yes, and we feel great about it. We feel like we're really contributing to revitalizing the core of the city, and
good for you.
bringing good entertainment, making people happy, and we just smile because we're on Hennepin Avenue. We love it. We couldn't be more excited.
If people wanted to call for tickets, you've got a number that you can
Yes,
rattle off?
989-5151.
Okay.
And I would suggest that people make their plans way in advance, because as I said, we're selling out 8 weeks out about. You can pick up 2s and 4s, but sometimes people want 8s because the reception tables are of 8.
Put a whole party together and do that.
Put a party together and have a great time. And people are already coming back again, bringing relatives from out of town and saying, oh, you've got to see this show, you won't believe it. And so that contributes to a little lack of availability. So I'd say plan ahead. You can also pick up tickets in person at the State or Orpheum box office.
If you're downtown Minneapolis,
if you're
pick 'em up in
downtown,
person.
just go right to the State box office and pick up your tickets, and that's a great way to do it also.
Sandy, thanks for coming and talking
You're
with us.
welcome.
It's great.
Come to the wedding.
Okay.
Okay.
Get it right. Okay, Hector Garcia, who's the publisher of Colors Magazine, will join me right after this. Stay tuned. Well, remember, April is Poetry Month, so read a poem, write a poem, okay? Well, I'm pleased, very pleased to have as my next guest, Hector Garcia, who is the publisher of Colors Magazine. Hector,
thank you.
Pleased to have you on here. This gentleman and I have had
to be here.
some wonderful conversations over the years, and we're going to get into some of these issues that you and I like to talk about. But first, you are the publisher of Colors, and this is a magazine that's been around a few years.
Since 91.
91, okay.
And I just started as publisher last year in March. So it's been about a year.
Yeah. Well, happy anniversary for
Thank
you.
you.
Tell us a little bit, for those who aren't familiar with Colors, what is Colors about, and what is it they find between the pages there?
Okay, it's a part of Four Colors Productions, Inc., which is a non-profit organization. The magazine is currently the only thing that Four Colors Productions has, and it is the only print publication in the country of its type. We're very, very unique. We bring together writers and artists from all communities of color, and our main audience are European Americans, or the majority community. So in all of those aspects, it's quite different. One, because we bring together all of the communities of color. Two, because we don't write specifically for a community of color, but for the majority community and the minority communities as well. And we believe that it's a very significant uniqueness, and I can tell you all about that.
Oh, I'd like to hear more. And as your tagline says on the magazine, in fact, I'm going to hold it up here. As it describes it, it is described as opinion and the arts.
That's right.
In communities of color.
That's right.
So that's kind of your beat, as it were.
Exactly.
Yeah. You cover a lot of issues. I mean, some are kind of fun, but you also get into some very serious things.
Yes, they are. We believe that the ideas, the feelings of people of color have not been adequately communicated to the overall community, and it's a very significant need, particularly because we live in a democratic society. The minority communities represent nearly 30% of the population, and they're growing very rapidly. Now, to have the opinions of that large a portion of the population not be adequately understood can create a large number of problems.
Well, and Hector, tell me if I'm right. This is an impression I've had, and this would not only be for people of color, but most sort of self-defined groups. We all tend to speak most comfortably with those folks that are like us. So the fact that your audience is consciously the majority community, that it has to be a part of what makes you different.
Yeah, it actually wasn't by intent. That's simply the way the market
is that right?
responded to the magazine. But coincidentally, that is what I think is most important about the magazine. Communities of color can make great contributions in terms of ideas, in terms of traditions, in terms of the visions that they have for the future. And we believe that that is the reason why the majority community is so intrigued by what we have to say.
Well, and that word community is, I think, kind of the bridge into some of the conversations you and I have had. I first met you, I think you were on the board of a theater company down near Loring Park.
That's
and you had a leadership role in trying to bring that geographic community, but also that sort of cultural community together. Do you want to talk a little bit about your notion of community and what the arts can do to build community?
Well, that was the essence of that project, if you recall. The idea was to make the public aware, and by the public I don't mean only the public in the Twin Cities, but visitors from other cities and states, aware of the significance of the assets that we have in terms of culture and the arts in this city. And to make it very evident in the way the neighborhood in which many of those large arts organizations are located, and restaurants of different ethnic origins and parks, integrated all into a very visible aspect of the city that could create a magnet that would attract people to the area and also attract tourism.
Yeah. And I know, too, that part of your interest, I mean, you took the initiative to actually bring some urban planners, urban designers up to try and link that part of that edge of downtown all the way down to the river and stuff. So.
Well, I happen to have some friends in San Antonio, and if you visited San Antonio, you probably realize what a fantastic job they have done out of optimizing the asset that they have in their small river. Now, we've got a huge river right here by downtown, so it seemed obvious to me that something great could be done to make it a greater attraction for locals and visitors. And so I invited the top river development person in the country and a friend of his who works with him to visit us, and they made, as you might recall, numerous suggestions as to how we could make best use of that beautiful location.
Yeah, no, they made a nice presentation down, I think, at the old Cricket Theater space down on Nicollet there, yeah. When you have other concerns, and I think it's your belief that the arts can help us bridge some of these gaps between people. I mean, we've talked about racism, community relations, young people and stuff like that. And you're very involved, I know personally, in lots of these linkages and these connections with other publishers, with other people in arts establishments. Talk a little bit about that.
Well, as you know, I hate to see latent assets go to waste. I think we have so many good things around us that we oftentimes are not even aware of, or we don't use appropriately. And arts, to my mind, is one of them. The arts, as you know, has been under considerable attack. Funding for the arts has become more and more limited, and that concerns me a great deal, as it concerns you and many other people. It seems to me that at the core of these attacks that have been experienced, not only by the arts, but by public media as well, is the perception, which I consider is totally wrong, that the arts are socially irrelevant and therefore expendable at a time of economic difficulty, such as we've been experiencing for some time, even though that might also be a perception.
Good point.
So, what I have been trying to do in different ways is to bring to the fore that historically, in all countries, the arts have made very significant, tangible contributions to society on a daily basis. Many people have the, I think, misconception that the arts are only about aesthetics, that they're only pretty things to enjoy. And I think that's a very limited perception of the arts. The arts, as I said, historically have made very significant contributions. In one area, for example, where we're in dire need of some help, is in creating visions for society, of what direction to pursue. Everybody is looking for a new social paradigm, including politicians at this time. And they're not considering the fact that artists are about creating visions.
Yeah, these are the visionaries
Writers,
very often.
you know, I think the artists, the writers, are the people who are best suited to create visions for society that might direct the way.
And the trick then is to harness those visions, to listen to them, to find them, and then get them translated into policy, into building community.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think there's some artists locally that are doing some work very directly towards that end in addressing the problems of crime, for example, disorientation of youth.
Yes, very important.
Seitu Jones, for example, as you know, Takumba, are doing very significant work in this area. And so are people in other places. Later on, I'd like to tell you a little bit about a New York Twin City project that could make a difference.
Hector, we've only got a couple minutes. Let's get right into that. What about this New York project?
Well, Colors Magazine has been exploring the possibility of creating a bridge. As you know, I love to create bridges where other people see chasms. And we would like to bring artists and writers from New York City together with artists and writers from the Twin Cities into a project that will illustrate how the arts can contribute to the solution of social problems. And to be more specific, we'll probably follow the motto of the magazine, which is from anger to wisdom in communities of color. I feel very strongly that the communities of color in this country are going through a very human experience, which is after realization of great pain, one becomes angry and later evolves into a stage of wisdom.
Yeah.
And that wisdom is precisely what society needs today.
Right.
So that would be the basic theme that will unify the artists and writers from the two cities, and it'll probably be done in conjunction with a national writing contest that we're doing with the Loft, and will culminate with an event in New York City where we will celebrate this and have it be an ongoing series of events and contests which we will be publishing in the magazine.
Sounds like a lot of great bridge building going on there. And as you say, we'll find out more about it in the pages of Colors as they're coming up. Before we go, if people wanted to get in contact with Colors, how would they do that? Is there a number you can give us?
874-0494, and our fax number is 874-0086.
Okay, and they could call that whether they're just interested in the magazine or if they want to subscribe or anything.
Sure,
That's the
we'd
general
love
contact.
to hear your opinions and have you subscribe and tell us what you think of the magazine.
Well, it's a very good magazine. I see it all over, so congratulations.
Thanks a lot. Well, we're trying to grow now. We're intending to go national now.
Good for you. That's great. Hector, thank you for being on the show.
It's a pleasure.
You bet.
Thanks a lot.
Well, now, stay tuned for the final scoops of the month as Janet joins me to wrap up this April edition of Artifacts. Well, always interesting things going on here in the Minneapolis area.
And great guests, always.
Yeah.
So much fun to talk with all these folks.
Never a dull moment
Never.
here. So, well, I wanted to thank those people. I've also wanted to kind of go back, back of the book stuff on a few guests and things we've had in the past. Last summer, we had a gentleman on the show who is a theater maven, I think we called him, Merle Lopnow. He has seen more theater than probably anybody, any group of people watching the show put together. He sent me the Lopnow Chronicles, in which that's his annual update on his life. And he let it be known that in calendar 95, the gentleman attended 96 more plays, which brings up his total since 1914. That's his earliest memory of seeing a theater play. He has now seen 7,917 plays. I got a lot of catching up to do.
That's a lot.
That's Merle Lopnow. I also wanted to mention We had Pam Ellis on last fall. She's the editor of Performance Twin Cities, which is essentially, it's a magazine of criticism of arts and performing in the Twin Cities. And I picked it up this spring. The spring issue is out, and I just recommend, if you want to support the arts and learn a little bit more about what's going on, and support those critics that are doing good work as well. And one last final thought. We always put a calendar of events at the end of the show for the month that you're watching this. So that makes it a little tricky if there's an event happening at the very, very front end of a month. May 1st, I want you to think about this during the month of April. They're going to have the grand opening of the St. Anthony Falls Heritage Trail down the Minneapolis riverfront, right on Nicollet Island, 2:30 on May 1st. They'll have some people there, speakers, obviously, the mayor will be there, and they'll be having kiosks that they'll unveil. And this is a trail you can walk from the Hennepin Avenue Suspension Bridge down essentially all the way down to the new Stone Arch Bridge, or the newly refurbished Stone Arch Bridge. So a neat thing to get involved in.
It'll be so beautiful. It'll be May. It'll be real spring.
It will be spring.
Yes.
Yeah.
You're guaranteeing that.
I think by May I'm safe, although there's still a few more snow days in there. But now, while they're doing that at the Heritage Trail, you're going to have some filmmaking
some
going
movie
on.
making on, in Minneapolis, in the Nicollet Island area. Arnold will be there. He will be there, yes. And that Jingle All the Way is going to be starting actual filming mid-April. So that should be very exciting. It's a very big movie for Minneapolis. This is bigger than anything that we've ever done.
That's right, the biggest budget.
Yep.
That is incredible.
So it'll be really exciting.
Great.
And?
Well, and next month on the show, we're going to preview the burgeoning art scene in Northeast Minneapolis, another one of those cultural districts that's kind of growing. And stay tuned for the calendar of events at the end of this show.
That's coming up. You don't want to miss some of these great things going on in the Twin Cities.
And until you see us next time, I'm Phill Lindsay.
And I'm Janet Zahn. Thanks for watching Artifacts.